Welcome to this deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be looking at conventions. You know, those big gatherings where people who love the same thing all get together and celebrate it.
Right.
And we're not just talking about the conventions themselves, but more like how they change the people who go to them.
Yeah.
The conventions sort of bring out all these hidden desires and fears and connections that people usually keep hidden.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because there's sort of like this temporary reality,
Yeah.
where people can completely immerse themselves in this one very specific part of who they are.
Yeah.
Like, it's a place where shared passions just become the dominant force, and they shape like all the interactions there and influence behavior.
Yeah, it's like stepping into an alternate reality where everyone speaks the same language.
Exactly.
Even if that language is about, some obscure TV show or some specific hobby.
Absolutely.
And speaking of niche, our first story takes us right to the heart of this whole thing.
Yeah.
We're going to meet Andrea, who worked at a bakery that happened to be right below a convention hotel.
Oh, wow.
And you wouldn't think that serving pastries to convention goers would be that exciting.
No, not really.
But for Andrea, it was like this front row seat to a fascinating social experiment.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Because you've got all of these people, and they're all intensely focused on just this one single aspect of their lives, right?
Right.
And all that focus, it can create this really exhilarating atmosphere.
Yeah.
But, for some people, it can also be a little overwhelming.
Exactly. Like Andrea, she described this feeling as like becoming the facet.
Interesting.
Like imagine a whole group of Mary Kay saleswomen,
Okay.
all decked out in their pink.
Right.
They just radiate this enthusiasm and a passion for makeup.
Of course.
Their energy, their way of interacting, it's all just amplified by that convention setting.
Yeah, it's almost like they're embodying the Mary Kay brand,
Yeah.
They take on all the characteristics that are associated with it.
Exactly.
And that can be a really powerful thing, both for the individuals and for the group as a whole.
Absolutely. But it can also be intimidating,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're someone like Andrea,
Yeah.
who's really bad at math.
Wow.
Like she was convinced that the math teachers who were attending a convention there were going to try to quiz her.
While ordering pastries?
Yeah. While they were ordering their pastries.
No, that's funny.
Yeah. And that's a great example of how conventions can trigger all these personal anxieties in us.
Yeah.
We become hyper aware of whatever facet we're presenting.
Right.
And then any of the insecurities we have about that just get magnified.
Absolutely. It's like that feeling of being surrounded by all the experts in your field.
Yeah.
And suddenly you start questioning everything you know, your own knowledge, your abilities.
Exactly. And for Andrea, it was those math teachers and their complex calculations with change.
Oh, no.
She'd be trying to ring up a simple coffee and pastry, and they just throw her off with all these elaborate equations.
It's kind of funny, but it also shows like the power dynamics,
Yeah.
that are at play in those situations.
Yeah.
The convention attendees are so immersed in their world that they don't even realize how they're affecting someone like Andrea, who's just on the periphery.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that conventions, while they're spaces of shared passion,
Yeah.
they can also reveal all these subtle ways that we navigate social hierarchies and anxieties.
Absolutely.
But let's shift gears a bit and move on to a story that's all about finding your tribe.
Okay.
So we're going to meet John Connors, a diehard fan of this classic soap opera, Dark Shadows.
Ah, Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
The suspense, the gothic atmosphere, Barnabas Collins.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a show that's created such a devoted following.
it really has. And John was determined to experience the magic of Dark Shadows firsthand
Okay.
by going to a fan convention.
Oh, wow.
Now, you might think that a convention for a decades-old soap opera would be, a little subdued.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
But John went all in. He even prepped a special outfit for the occasion.
Really?
He found this crushed velvet jacket at a thrift store.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was ready to embrace his inner vampire aficionado.
That's great. Hey, that attention to detail,
Yeah.
it really speaks volumes about how transformative conventions can be.
Yeah?
Like, people put so much thought and effort into creating this persona that aligns with the event's theme.
Right.
And that process can be incredibly liberating.
It's about stepping outside of your everyday identity and embracing that side of yourself that you might not normally get to explore.
Exactly.
But for John, that initial step into the convention wasn't exactly what he expected.
Oh.
He said he felt like a bit of an outsider at first, surrounded by all these other Dark Shadows enthusiasts.
Yeah, I can imagine that, that feeling of vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's something a lot of people experience at conventions, especially if they go alone.
Right.
It's that initial hurdle of finding your place in the group,
Yeah,
figuring out how you fit in.
exactly.
Yeah.
And for John, that turning point came surprisingly through watching Dark Shadows.
Oh, wow.
All these fans huddled together in this massive ballroom,
Yeah.
watching episodes of the show.
It's meta, but there's something really powerful about sharing an experience like that with people who get it.
Yeah.
It's about creating those shared rituals, those moments of collective joy and recognition
Right.
that just solidify the sense of belonging.
Exactly. And then there were these fan-made Dark Shadows videos.
Ooh.
People were making their own episodes
Oh, wow.
with elaborate sets and costumes.
That's amazing.
It was clear that this wasn't just passive fandom.
No.
This was like a creative outlet, a
Yeah.
way for people to express their passion and connect with others who shared it.
And it highlights how conventions can unleash this incredible creative energy.
Right.
It's about taking that shared love for something and turning it into something new and collaborative.
Yeah,
Something that just deepens the connection to both the source material and the community.
exactly.
Hmm.
And sometimes that creative expression takes the form of embracing your inner crackpot,
What?
as John put it.
Okay.
He described this moment during a panel discussion where this woman stands up and declares, "I am a crackpot and Dark Shadows lives."
That's fantastic.
It's just this declaration of pride.
Yeah,
Owning that part of herself that might be considered quirky or unconventional by others.
absolutely.
And it speaks to the sense of liberation that conventions offer.
Yeah, it's about finding a space where you can celebrate those passions
Right.
that don't get much attention in your everyday life.
Exactly. And for John, it was this turning point.
Yeah,
He realized that he wasn't alone in his love for Dark Shadows.
right.
He was surrounded by this whole tribe of fellow crackpots.
And that feeling of belonging can be so powerful.
Yeah.
It validates your passions and reminds you that you're not alone in the things that make you unique.
It does. But as we saw with Andrea, that experience of belonging at conventions isn't always a given.
Right.
Sometimes it's about navigating those spaces where you feel like an outsider,
Yeah,
even when you're surrounded by people who seem to share your interests.
totally.
Which leads us to our next story.
Oh,
A tale that kind of flips the script on the traditional convention experience.
interesting.
So meet dishwasher Pete, a man who went to the National Restaurant Association convention,
Okay.
despite being a dishwasher.
Oh, wow.
Now, you might be wondering, what would make a dishwasher want to go to a convention for restaurant owners
Yeah.
and industry bigwigs?
I mean, what's the appeal?
Well, Pete had this idea that he would find all these cigar-chomping bosses
Right.
swapping stories about how to cut corners and maximize profits at the expense of their employees.
It's funny how our expectations shape our experiences, especially in new environments.
Right.
And conventions, with their very specific atmospheres and social dynamics, they often challenge those preconceptions.
They really do. And
Oh.
challenge them it did.
So what happened?
Well, Pete walked into that convention expecting to see like the embodiment of capitalist excess,
Okay.
but instead he found something completely different.
Really?
He was struck by all these giddy authority figures scrambling to get free trinkets
Oh, no.
and promotional keychains.
Like little giveaways and stuff?
Yeah. It was funny because it showed this universal truth.
What's that?
Even people in positions of power can't resist free stuff.
That's so true.
It's a good reminder that conventions can reveal the human side of industries and professions.
Yeah, we see those leaders engaging in the same simple pleasures as everyone else.
Right.
And it can be quite disarming.
Totally. He even described watching Bob Dole give this rambling campaign-style speech
Oh, what?
that seemed completely out of place at a restaurant convention.
It's like he was caught in a time warp or something.
Yeah, totally oblivious to what the event was actually about.
Interesting. And that disconnect between his speech and the context of the convention,
Yeah.
it highlights Pete's status as an outsider.
Right.
He's seeing this world from a very unique perspective,
Yeah,
one that's informed by his position in the industry.
exactly. And that perspective becomes even more clear when Pete tries to find other dishwashers at the convention.
Oh.
It's like there's these invisible figures,
Right.
essential to how the industry functions,
Yeah.
but never really acknowledged or celebrated.
It's sad, but it's true. It's a reminder of all the unseen labor that so many industries rely on.
Yeah,
The people who do the essential work,
right.
the often unglamorous work that
Yeah.
allows everything else to run smoothly.
Exactly. And Pete's search for his fellow dishwashers leads him to the Hobart booth,
Okay.
the mecca of dishwashing equipment.
The Holy Grail.
You'd think he'd find some kindred spirits there, right?
I would think so, yeah.
The people who design and build the machines that define his entire profession.
Right.
But that's where things get ironic.
Okay.
He meets all these slick sales reps who have never actually worked as dishwashers.
No.
They even admit to hating doing dishes at home.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like meeting a car salesman who hates driving.
Right. The disconnect is palpable.
Yeah. And to make matters worse, they're trying to sell him on this new sink that's designed to save labor,
Okay.
which basically means putting dishwashers out of work.
Oh, wow. It's a classic example of how technology aimed at efficiency can have unintended consequences for certain workers.
Right. And Pete's reaction is priceless. He compares these Hobart reps to surgeons who hate the sight of blood.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
It just captures the absurdity of the situation.
It really does. It shows the huge gap between the people who design and sell these devices and the people whose jobs are directly affected by them.
Exactly. But then he stumbles upon the Champion dishwashing machine booth.
Okay.
And it's the complete opposite of the Hobart spectacle.
So...
Just a couple of guys in plain suits, no fancy displays, no freebies.
Interesting.
And it's there that he finds this surprising connection.
Okay, I love how Pete's story subverts our expectations. It reminds us that we can find genuine connections in the most unexpected places.
It does. He ends up having this great conversation with the president of Champion.
Oh, wow.
And the guy is a fan of Pete's zine dishwasher.
Really?
Yeah. They bond over their appreciation for the art of dishwashing.
That's awesome.
Even though they have completely different roles in the industry.
It just goes to show you that shared passions can bridge any divide and create common ground.
Right.
Even between people who seem worlds apart.
Exactly. But even with this new connection, Pete still wants to find another dishwasher.
Okay.
Someone who really understands the daily grind.
Right.
And that search takes him to the depths of the convention center.
To the dish pit,
Yeah.
of course. It's like the symbolic descent into the underbelly of the convention where the real work happens.
Exactly. Away from all the glitz and glamour.
Right. And what happens there?
He finds Jesse,
Okay.
the only dishwasher working down there,
Oh, wow.
tirelessly cleaning up after all the convention's excesses.
It's a moment of pure solidarity.
It is.
Two people connected by their shared experience.
Right.
This unspoken understanding that comes from doing the work side by side.
Exactly. They don't even need to have a big conversation.
Yeah.
The shared experience of being dishwashers, of working in this hidden space,
Right.
it creates an instant bond.
It does. And what does Pete do?
He puts down his tape recorder and starts helping Jesse wash dishes.
That's great. It's a beautiful ending to his convention adventure.
It is. He finds connection not in the crowded booths or the speeches,
Right.
but in this quiet camaraderie of shared labor.
Exactly. It reminds us that conventions can be about so much more than just networking or professional advancement.
Yeah.
They can also be places where we find these unexpected connections and rediscover the value of simple human interaction.
Absolutely. But our deep dive into the world of conventions wouldn't be complete without exploring the most profound connection of all.
Which is?
Love.
Ah, yes. Our final story takes us to the intersection of two seemingly different worlds.
The world of Next T Computers.
Okay.
And the world of the American Psychiatric Association.
Sounds like a rom-com waiting to happen.
Right.
But trust me, this story is anything but lighthearted.
Oh.
It's about John Perry Barlow,
Okay.
a former rancher and Grateful Dead lyricist, who at the time was a big deal in the tech world and digital rights.
Okay.
He was at the Next T convention to MC a celebrity roast for Steve Jobs.
Wow. So we have two very different groups of people with completely different interests and perspectives, all converging in this one space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The tech world, buzzing with innovation and entrepreneurial energy.
Yeah.
And then the world of psychiatry focused on all the complexities of the human mind.
Wow. That's an interesting mix.
Yeah, and as John tells it, he was mingling in this tech-heavy crowd
Okay.
when he noticed this woman across the convention hall.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just any woman. He described this intense eye contact, this feeling of instant recognition.
Wow.
Like he'd found a missing piece of himself. That's fascinating. It's like how nonverbal communication, that initial spark, can go beyond logic and reason.
Yeah. He actually rubbed his eyes because he thought he was hallucinating.
Wow.
He couldn't believe how intense the connection was.
So what did he do?
Well, he circled her a few times,
Okay.
Trying to figure out what to do before finally working up the courage to approach her.
It's like something out of a movie.
It really is.
The hesitation, the unspoken attraction, this sense that something amazing is about to happen.
And what unfolds is this series of coincidences that would make anyone believe in fate.
Like what?
Well, they discovered that they're from similar small towns.
Oh, wow.
And that they both live in New York City.
That's crazy. Those shared origins.
Yeah.
That sense of coming from similar backgrounds, even though their current lives are so different.
Yeah.
It probably made that connection even stronger.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then get this, they realize that they live in the same building.
No way.
Just 2 floors apart.
You're kidding? It's like the universe was trying to bring them together.
It really is.
Yeah.
So they end up spending the rest of the convention together.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Venturing into each other's worlds.
I love that.
He takes her to a Grateful Dead concert.
Wow.
And she introduces him to the world of psychiatry.
It's such a good example of how conventions can bring together these different worlds, creating opportunities to connect with people we might never have met otherwise.
Exactly. And their connection deepens so quickly.
Okay.
They move in together just a week after meeting.
Wow. That's fast.
I know.
Right.
Fueled by this intense, almost inexplicable bond.
It shows the power of shared experience and vulnerability, especially in those early stages of a relationship.
Right.
They were exploring each other's worlds, but also their own emotions and desires.
Absolutely.
Huh.
But here's where things take a heartbreaking turn.
Okay.
They both get hit with this really bad flu.
Oh, no.
And are basically out of commission for weeks.
It's a reminder that even in the midst of these incredible connections, life can throw us curveballs.
It can. And a devastating curveball it was.
What happened?
John goes to Los Angeles for a speaking engagement.
Okay.
And Cynthia's supposed to join him later.
Right.
But she decides to stay in New York a bit longer.
Okay.
To rest up before seeing patients again.
It seems like a small decision.
It does.
But it ends up having tragic consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He put her on an afternoon flight back to New York, gave her a kiss goodbye,
right,
and didn't think anything of it.
Okay.
But during that flight, the flu virus, which it seemed like just a bad case,
right,
attacked her heart.
Oh, my God.
It's a stark reminder of how fragile life is.
It really is.
How quickly things can change.
Yeah.
She died in her sleep on that flight.
I'm so sorry.
Just 2 days before her 30th birthday.
That's awful. Imagine the shock.
Yeah.
The grief, the disbelief.
Oh, no. It's a story that just leaves you breathless.
Yeah.
With this profound sense of how deeply conventions can impact our lives.
They can be powerful experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. For better or for worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that conventions are more than just gatherings of like-minded people.
Yeah.
They're places where lives intersect.
Yeah.
Where unexpected connections are forged.
Right.
Where destinies are altered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes those intersections lead to joy.
Yeah.
To lasting friendships.
Of course.
To love stories like John and Cynthia's. And sometimes they lead to profound loss.
Yeah.
To a grief that changes how we see the world.
That's true.
And our place in it.
It is. And even though their time together was short, John said that meeting Cynthia changed him fundamentally.
He did. He said that before her, he didn't believe in the soul.
Wow.
You know, in that kind of profound connection between two people.
Right.
But their encounter, however fleeting it was, opened him up to a whole new way of seeing the world.
It's a testament to the transformative power of love.
It is.
Even in the face of loss.
Right. It suggests that certain connections leave a mark on us.
Yeah.
Expanding our capacity for empathy.
For understanding.
Yeah.
For experiencing the world in a deeper, more profound way.
It really does make you think.
It does.
About all those chance encounters we have.
Yeah.
The people who come and go in our lives.
Right.
And the huge impact they can have on us.
Absolutely.
Even if our time together is short.
Yeah. You never know when a simple hello at a convention might lead to a life-changing connection.
Yeah. For better or worse.
Exactly. Conventions with their unique mix of people and shared passions. They create the perfect environment for those kinds of encounters.
Right.
They offer us a glimpse into the vast tapestry of human experience, reminding us that everyone has a story, a journey filled with joys and sorrows, triumphs and tragedies.
So what have we learned?
Well,
we've gone through 3 very different convention experiences.
We have.
Each showing a unique side of the transformative power of these gatherings.
Right. We've seen how conventions can amplify our passions, connect us with our tribe, expose us to new perspectives and even lead us to these life-altering encounters.
They really can. And I think the main takeaway here is that conventions are all about connection.
Absolutely. Connection to our passions, to like-minded individuals, to unexpected possibilities, and to the deeper truth about ourselves and the human experience.
We've seen the highs and the lows. The humor and the heartbreak. The shared experiences that shape who we are and how we see the world.
Exactly.
And I think that's pretty amazing. Don't you?
I do. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
How have conventions or even just chance encounters shaped your own journey? What hidden desires, fears, or connections have they revealed to you?
It's something to think about.
It is. Take some time to reflect on those experiences. Because within them are valuable insights about who you are and who you're becoming.
Until next time, happy convention going.
Yes.
And may your journeys be filled with wonder. Absolutely.
And unexpected connections.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, because, a lot of those reps probably went to college. So they're coming from this very different background, the people who are actually using the machines.
And to make matters worse, they're pushing this new sink that's supposed to save labor. Which basically means putting dishwashers out of work.
Oh, wow.
And Pete's reaction is priceless. He says that these Hobart reps are like surgeons who hate the sight of blood.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
It really is. It just perfectly sums up how absurd the situation is.
It does. It shows the huge gap between the people designing these machines and the people whose jobs are on the line.
Exactly. But then he stumbles upon the Champion dishwashing machine booth. Which is like the polar opposite of Hobart.
Really?
Yeah. Just a couple of guys in plain suits, no fancy displays or freebies.
Interesting.
And it's there that he finds this unexpected connection.
Oh, I love how Pete's story subverts expectations.
It reminds us that we can find these genuine connections in the most unexpected places.
It really does. He ends up having this amazing conversation with the president of Champion.
Oh, wow.
And get this, the guy's a fan of Pete's zine dishwasher.
Really?
Yeah. They bond over their shared appreciation for the craft of dishwashing.
That's so cool.
Even though they have completely different roles in the industry.
Yeah, it shows that shared passions can really bridge any divide.
It can.
And create common ground, even between people who seem worlds apart.
Exactly. But even with this new connection, Pete still longs to find a fellow dishwasher. Someone who truly gets the daily grind.
Right. Someone who understands what it's really like.
Yeah. And that search takes him down to the depths of the convention center.
To the dish pit.
It's like a symbolic descent.
Yeah, it is.
Into the underbelly of the convention.
Right. The behind the scenes.
Exactly. Where the real work happens away from all the glitz and glamour.
And what does he find there?
He finds Jesse, the only dishwasher working down there, tirelessly cleaning up after all the convention's excesses.
Wow. It's a moment of pure solidarity.
It is.
Two guys just connected by their shared experience.
Yeah.
This unspoken understanding that comes from doing the work side by side.
Exactly. They don't even need to say much.
No.
The shared experience of being dishwashers.
Yeah.
Of working in this hidden space.
Right.
It creates an instant bond.
It does. And what does Pete do?
He puts down his tape recorder and starts helping Jesse wash dishes.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a beautiful ending to his convention adventure.
It is. He finds connection not in the crowded booths or the keynote speeches.
Right.
But in this quiet camaraderie of shared labor.
Exactly. It reminds us that conventions can be about so much more than just networking or professional advancement.
Right.
They can be these spaces where we find unexpected connections and rediscover the value of simple human interaction.
Absolutely. But our deep dive into the world of conventions wouldn't be complete without exploring the most profound connection of all.
And that is...
love.
Yes. Our final story takes us to the intersection of two very different worlds.
Okay.
The cutting-edge world of Next-T computers.
Right.
And the complex world of the American Psychiatric Association.
It sounds like the premise for a rom-com.
Right.
But trust me, this story is anything but lighthearted.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's about John Perry Barlow, a former rancher and Grateful Dead lyricist.
Wow.
Who at the time was a major figure in technology and digital rights.
Okay.
He was at the Next-T convention to MC a celebrity roast for Steve Jobs.
So we have these two very different groups of people with very different interests and perspectives, all coming together in this one convention space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The tech world buzzing with innovation and entrepreneurial energy.
Yeah.
And then the world of psychiatry.
Right.
Focused on all the complexities of the human mind.
It's an interesting mix.
It is. And John says that he was mingling in this tech-heavy crowd.
Okay.
When he spotted this woman across the convention hall. And it wasn't just any woman. He described this intense eye contact.
Okay.
This feeling of instant recognition.
Wow.
Like he had found a missing piece of himself.
That's amazing. It's like nonverbal communication at its finest.
It really is.
That spark that goes beyond logic and reason.
He even rubbed his eyes because he thought he was hallucinating.
Wow. He must have been really drawn to her.
He was. He couldn't believe how strong the connection was.
So what did he do?
He circled her a few times trying to figure out what to do.
Okay.
Before finally working up the courage to approach her.
It's like a scene from a movie.
It really is.
The hesitation, the unspoken attraction.
Right.
The sense that something extraordinary is about to happen.
Exactly. And then what unfolds is this series of coincidences that would make anyone believe in fate.
I'm listening.
Well, they discover that they're from similar small towns.
Wow.
And that they both live in New York City.
No way. Those shared origins?
Yeah.
That feeling of coming from similar places, even though their current lives are so different?
Right.
Probably intensified that initial spark.
I bet it did. And then get this. They realize they live in the same building.
You're kidding?
Just 2 floors apart.
Wow. It's like the universe was conspiring to bring them together.
It really does feel that way.
No.
So they end up spending the rest of the convention together.
Oh, that's great.
Venturing into each other's worlds.
I love that.
He takes her to a Grateful Dead concert.
Awesome.
And she introduces him to the world of psychiatry.
It's such a beautiful example of how conventions can bring together these seemingly disparate worlds.
They can.
You know, creating those opportunities to connect with people we might never encounter otherwise.
Exactly. And their connection deepens so quickly.
Okay.
They move in together just a week after meeting.
Wow, that's fast.
I know, right? Fueled by this intense, almost inexplicable bond.
It speaks to the power of shared experience and vulnerability, especially in the early stages of a relationship.
Right.
They were exploring each other's worlds, but also the depths of their own emotions and desires.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's where the story takes a heartbreaking turn.
What happens?
They both get hit with this awful flu.
Oh, no.
And are pretty much out of commission for weeks.
It's like a reminder that even in the midst of these amazing connections, life can throw us curveballs.
It can.
Yeah.
And this was a devastating curveball.
What happened?
Well, John had to go to Los Angeles for a speaking engagement.
Okay.
And Cynthia was supposed to join him later.
Right.
But she decided to stay in New York a bit longer to rest up before going back to work.
That makes sense. It seems like a small decision.
It does.
But it ends up having tragic consequences.
Right, but it ends up having tragic consequences.
Oh, no.
He put her on an afternoon flight back to New York, gave her a kiss goodbye, and thought nothing of it.
Okay.
But during that flight, that flu virus, you know, the one that had seemed like just a bad case.
Right.
Well, it attacked her heart.
Oh, my God.
It's just a stark reminder of how fragile life is, you know?
It really is.
How quickly things can change. And she died in her sleep on that flight just 2 days before her 30th birthday.
Oh, that's just awful. I can't imagine the shock.
Yeah.
The grief, the disbelief.
I know. It's a story that leaves you breathless.
It does.
With this profound sense of how deeply conventions can impact our lives.
You know, they can be such powerful experiences.
They can, for better or worse.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that conventions are more than just gatherings of like-minded people.
Oh.
They're places where lives intersect, where unexpected connections are forged, where destinies are altered.
Yeah, they really are. And sometimes those intersections lead to joy.
Of course.
Lasting friendships.
Right.
Love stories like John and Cynthia's.
Yeah.
And sometimes they lead to profound loss.
That's true.
To a grief that changes how we see the world.
Yeah.
And our place in it.
It does. And even though their time together was short, John said that meeting Cynthia fundamentally changed him.
Yeah, he said that before her, he didn't believe in the soul.
Wow.
You know, and that kind of profound connection between two people. Right? But their encounter, however fleeting it was, opened him up to a whole new way of seeing the world.
That's amazing. It's a testament to the transformative power of love.
It is.
Even in the face of loss.
Right. It suggests that certain connections leave an imprint on us, you know, expanding our capacity for empathy.
For understanding.
Right.
For experiencing the world in a deeper, more profound way.
It really does make you think, doesn't it?
It does.
About all the chance encounters we have.
Right.
The people who drift in and out of our lives.
Yeah.
And the huge impact they can have on us.
Absolutely.
Even if our time together is brief.
It's true. You never know when a simple hello at a convention might lead to a life-changing connection.
Right. For better or worse.
Exactly. Conventions with their unique blend of people and shared passions.
Yeah.
They create this perfect environment for those kinds of encounters.
Yeah, they do.
They offer us a glimpse into this vast tapestry of human experience, reminding us that everyone has a story, a journey filled with joys and sorrows, triumphs and tragedies.
So what did we learn today?
Well,
we've journeyed through 3 very different convention experiences, each revealing a unique aspect of the transformative power of these gatherings.
Right. We've seen how conventions can amplify our passions, connect us with our tribe, expose us to new perspectives, and even lead us to these life-altering encounters.
It's true. And I think the key takeaway here is that conventions are all about connection.
Absolutely. Connection to our passions.
Yes.
To like-minded individuals.
Right.
To unexpected possibilities. And to the deeper truths about ourselves and the human experience.
We've seen the highs and the lows.
We have.
The humor and the heartbreak.
Right.
The shared experiences that shape who we are and how we see the world.
Exactly.
And I think that's pretty remarkable, don't you?
I do. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
How have conventions or even just chance encounters shaped your own journey? What hidden desires, fears, or connections have they revealed to you?
That's something to think about.
It is. Take some time to reflect on those experiences because within them are valuable insights about who you are and who you're becoming.
Until next time, happy convention going.
Yes.
And may your journeys be filled with wonder
and
unexpected connection.
Yeah.